city of Denison. Thank you for being here with us this morning. It's our tradition to begin our meetings with an invocation of the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd care to join in with us this morning, we'd ask you to stand at this time.
Please face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you choose to, I'd ask you still please stay standing. Oh, Almighty One, we just thank you for this day, that we can enjoy once more the heat of your bounty, and we can go through the business. I would ask you to give us wisdom, which is the knowing and doing of right, and common sense, so that we may do those types of things that benefit our community and the people who live here. Please bless those who are making the decisions here on this dais, and for those who are applying and talking before us. Which in your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. May be seated. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. The Planning Commission is a recommending body, so all the cases with the exception of site plans and plats will be sent on to City Council for final approval, and I think we have one case today, and that will be on Council's agenda on
August 17th.
August 17th. Here we go. When we get to the public hearings, we'll give you an opportunity to come forward to speak either for or against. If you would please give us your name and address for the record, then we'd appreciate that. And I don't know that we necessarily have to adhere to the 3-minute time limit today. I don't think it's necessary. Moving forward, we're going to go into item number 4, which is our consent agenda. Is there any one of these particular cases that anybody on the commission would like to take off of the consent agenda for individual consideration?
We did have one change prior to the meeting, and it was on the minutes on page 4. I had put that Commissioner Chakowski noted portions of the brick masonry, but it was actually Commissioner Mason, so I made that change.
Okay. Okay. That's noted. Anything else? Okay, well then I will entertain a motion on the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented with the adjustment to the minutes and with the site plan for Dollar General Retail Store.
Have a motion with a second?
Second.
Have a second? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item 5A, the public hearing is already open. We didn't close it. However, we did table this item, so I'm going to need a motion to remove it from the table.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we remove from the table case number 2026-64 CUP.
Second.
Second, Mr. Pickens. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. There you go. It's yours.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everybody. The first item we have this morning is to receive a report, hold a discussion, conduct a public hearing, and make a recommendation on a request for a conditional use permit to allow for a warehouse office for property located at 3101 Woodlawn Boulevard, case number 2026-64 CUP. As you mentioned at the top of this item, the Planning and Zoning Commission did table the public hearing at their meeting held on July 28th. This is an aerial view of that subject property, and it is zoned commercial for reference. The applicant, as I mentioned, is requesting a CUP or a conditional use permit to allow for a warehouse office operation at property located at 3101 South Woodlawn Boulevard. The property is zoned commercial and has been developed in a non-residential manner. The existing structure consists of approximately 74,000 square feet and was previously utilized as a call center. Over the course of several years, the structure has remained in minor operation, housing products to be sold online. The applicant does wish to repurpose the structure as a multi-tenant warehouse/office facility, and the applicant envisions dividing the structure into several suites to accommodate small businesses, contractors, skilled trade operations, and home improvement related showroom tenants. The project narrative details hours of operation to consist of Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. with potential hours on Saturday depending on the type of tenant operation. As you can see here, that's a pretty big parking lot. The parking lot provides more than enough spaces for the proposed use. In the pre-development meeting with the applicant and then through the review of their submittal, staff has expressed the desire to improve the visual aesthetics of the property by including landscaping that meets our minimum standards. So think landscaping strips, tree islands, additional landscaping that this property could really benefit from. The applicant is amenable to this and will move forward with submitting a landscape plan at the time of their building permit or before then, but no later than the building permit, to be reviewed by our staff and approved. As I mentioned earlier, our minimum standards do require landscaping strips and tree islands for the parking, and so we anticipate that that'll be represented on the plan. However, we are asking that the Planning and Zoning Commission consider creating a condition of this permit requiring that approved landscape plan prior to CO. Through the review of the property, we've discovered that the property is not platted. So that building exists on a piece of property that is not platted, which means that it's kind of hard to see on this aerial view, but there is a right-of-way to the north and to the west. To the north, you have Seymour Street, and to the west, you have Maurice Avenue. While I don't anticipate right-of-way dedication for Maurice, just looking at maps, I do anticipate Seymour Street needing some right-of-way dedication. And so we're asking that the applicant move forward with platting that property to establish those boundaries and dedicate appropriate right-of-way, along with dedicating any utility easements and fire lanes. I'm sorry, I could have been pushing these slides forward. So these are the proposed elevations that the applicant has provided through their zoning submittal.
Is it risk of being non-conforming with that right-of-way?
Yes, so yes, sir. So the property is adjacent to residential zoning with some minor residential development kind of around the property. I apologize for going back and forth. To the west and to the north, there are a few homes, but the whole west side of this property is zoned single-family zoning. There is a requirement within the zoning code for screening between non-residential and residential zoning districts. However, as Mr. Pickens alluded to, with this property being developed, not being platted, staff has some concerns of the structure becoming even more non-conforming once the property is platted. And so we're asking, we've asked the applicant to kind of work with us through the screening requirements once that plat or those property lines and right-of-way dedication has been established. I do think that there will be some issues with that building, and as it is already non-conforming, I do anticipate that the plat will also create a little bit more non-conformities, and so trying to figure out how to screen it at this time or what that looks like it's probably not appropriate. So we'll work with the applicant on screening requirements or any kind of mitigation through the building permit or after that plat comes into play.
Has outside storage been discussed?
It hasn't, but it's prohibited by the ordinance. So any outside storage or open storage, as the ordinance calls it, is prohibited. You can't have any storage that's visible from right-of-ways, residential zoning, things of that nature. Now, if they wish to screen in compliance with the zoning code, that would be allowed, but we would ask to see that before they start moving in that manner. The applicant also must work with our engineering staff to ensure appropriate improvements are made to Seymour Street and Maurice Avenue. Additionally, Woodlawn Boulevard is a TxDOT thoroughfare, and so a TIA is required as property is adjacent to that right-of-way. The property to the south, if you recall, that came through as a conditional use permit for a self-storage facility. It is my understanding they are also, or they're working through that TIA requirement. So it'll give us a little bit of an understanding of what, while we don't anticipate traffic concerns, that TIA will give us an idea of what additional mitigation would be needed for that use.
Any questions to start?
Oh, hang on, please. Per the future land use plan, the subject property is designated to be developed in a mixed commercial manner, and it does fall within a revitalization area. The proposed use meets that mixed commercial designation that the comprehensive plan has defined for us. The revitalization area the reactivation of a building that hasn't been used to its capacity, along with the proposed improvements that we've kind of discussed, do meet the intent of a revitalization area. The definition within the comp plan leans more towards neighborhood improvements. So I do see that if this is a successful project, that it'll meet that intent. It'll obviously revitalize that area in a much better manner than what it currently is. So staff does recommend approval of the conditional use permit. We are asking that the commission consider the two conditions listed there, one being the landscape plan, meeting the standards found within section 28.51, which is the landscape ordinance, be submitted to our staff to review and approve at the time of building permit or before. And then that the applicant submits a final plat application to our staff to be reviewed and approved. I am present for any questions that you may have, and the applicants are here as well.
I know you talked about conditions for the screening and the landscaping. You talked about the traffic improvements may be required in Seymour and Maurice and or the TIA. Since this is CUP, is not required to be a condition?
In some instances, we would require that to be a condition, but because TxDOT comes into play, it's a requirement no matter what. So if you feel more comfortable recommending that as a condition, I understand, but it's already a requirement. So it's regardless of whether the conditional use moves in this manner or with that condition, it's required.
Well, I don't see that the city's gonna get a whole lot of right of way from this property unless they wanna take it to a corner of a building.
So, I mean, here's the survey. In manners like this, right, it's kind of hard for me to give you any kind of guidance without seeing the plat in and of itself. We have encroachment agreements that we've utilized with other properties that are that have been developed in the right-of-way or need to utilize right-of-way. And so I do anticipate, and I've kind of discussed this with the applicant, I do anticipate that coming into play once we see what the plat looks like. The screening, encroachment agreements, all of those things kind of are hard to anticipate without having a plat in front of us.
It's interesting you got that far with that.
There are several properties like this within the city. It is exciting, though, to try and find a path forward for reactivating.
Getting it cleaned up, getting that all cleaned up is.
Yeah, and it's a really big building, so trying to find a use for it is a little cumbersome. So.
Okay. Anything else, guys? Any other questions? All right,
Thank you.
would the applicant like to come forward? Name and address for the record, please.
James Ray from Trophy Club, 2828 Sherwood Drive, Trophy Club, Texas.
Sir, I do have a question. In your project narrative, you talk about landscaping and screening not going to be a problem. I note down in the vehicular traffic impact, you say that no roadway adjustments, traffic control will be necessary. Are you aware of, and are you more than willing to go through those issues with checking with if there's any traffic upgrades that need to be done on those two roads and or getting the TIA?
Yes, we're prepared to commission those studies and study it.
Okay. No undue burden for you? I don't see a big problem for you for that?
No, sir.
Any issues with the plat or all this
No,
humdrum about?
plat's fine. Yep.
Anybody else? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else here today want to speak on this request? Either for or against? Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Adriana Alvarez, and I live at 3115 South Maurice. I also own 3129 South Maurice. I've been living at 3115 South Maurice for over 20 years, actually 25 years plus. And we live in a peaceful neighborhood. But I'm here because I'm concerned about the changes that my neighborhood could face with these future projects. Listening from what you are discussing, I'm glad that if this project is approved, that the landscape is improved because we've seen that this building has been neglected for over the last few years. I'm also majorly concerned about the traffic because this is a building that is in a residential area, and even though there aren't many houses, but it's still in a residential neighborhood, and we have children playing on the streets, and we're very concerned about that. I would like to share what happened to my family a few years ago. This building, as you may know, has been under different businesses, and one of them allowed semi trailers to park on the parking lot, even though this was a residential neighborhood. And one time while we were out on vacation, my son was taking care of our house, and during lunchtime, he went outside to grab lunch. One of the semi-trailers that was parked on the parking lot, someone was doing mechanic work to the semi-trailer. And that person also went to grab lunch. During that time, the semi-trailer had a brake malfunction and crashed into our home. Our home suffered significant damage. Thank goodness we weren't at home. My son had gone outside to grab lunch, but someone had been there. The story would have been completely different. I'm here and I'm sharing this with you so you'll know what my concern is for the use of the parking lot of this building and for the use of this building in general. Because we've been living at this property for several years. We love our neighborhood and we like Denison. And I'm sure that you will make the decision that will be the best for not only the residents, but also for our city, for Denison. Thank you for your time.
Any questions to the speaker? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Steve Colapetro. I live at 3131 South Maurice, right across from it. And as she said, it's been a horrible situation. They brought a bunch of containers in there, about 5 or 10 containers, and started unloading crap out of them. And I'm calling it crap because it was like the Galloping Gourmet CDs. That's the stuff they were trying to sell online because it floated down the road every time we had a rain, and all the garbage outside floats onto my property because we have a drainage ditch that goes down to the creek there. So it's been trash and everything over there. They don't maintain the parking lot. Hadn't been seal coated since Trailblazer was over there. Nothing has been done. Pallets, they were still piled up the other day. They've been moving the metal out. But we're just tired of looking at all the crap. It's not very, and like she said, the semis, city didn't seem to care. Anyhow, that's my point.
I think that this might be a resolution to your problem. I mean, we seem to have tenants that are agreeable to making the property up to standards.
Well, the previous tenants,
they're spending a lot of money renovating the building, number one. So I would think anybody that's putting that initial investment into a property, that I think the problems that you've been dealing with are probably going to be gone away. The problem you have is it's a vacant building,
right,
and it attracts those kind of things. And sometimes the city catches it, sometimes they don't. But this would, I think, these folks coming in there would probably rectify all the problems that you've been dealing with.
well, they destroyed the road too because of all the semis that weren't supposed to enter off the other road. They were supposed to come, what's that, Seymour?
No.
The original plot was for them to enter back in off Seymour. They've been coming in off the other road.
Well, again, we have no resolution to what's already happened. There's nothing I can do about that. But what we can do is we can chart the path from here forward.
Okay.
And it seems to me that we have an applicant that wants to come in there and improve this property, which would benefit you guys.
Is the city going to assist them in fixing our road?
That's not a question for P and Z, so you'll have to go to the
Okay,
city.
I'll
and
be at
ask
city
them that
council then
question.
over this when you take it
So,
up. But it needs to be resolved.
yeah,
And
and I think we're on that path.
The plat on my tax statement says it's zoned for condos. And I don't know where that came from.
Well, I think the staff just told us it was zone commercial, and
Yeah.
that's what it's filed.
No, their building is zoned commercial. Our properties across the street are zoned for condos. They really want to put apartments all up through there.
I don't know about that. And staff doesn't have any recollection of it either, so right now, it doesn't show up on.
Well, the
our-
corner lot, their plans for the corner lot on the end of Maurice failed because we wouldn't sell them our land cheap enough. So,
Again, that's issues that we're not here to talk about today, so
okay,
we're,
but
this,
like I said, I'll
yeah.
protest the whole thing if that road's not
well,
fixed.
you'll have to do that at a later time, because right now, I can't talk about anything with this one particular
Okay.
project.
We'll see what
But
happens.
thank you for coming. Anyone else?
Hello, my name is Karina Alvarez, and I live in 3115 South Maurice Avenue. I'm not sure about like all the technical terms, so I hope I understood everything, but I'm just going to speak to the best of my knowledge of what's going on in my neighborhood currently. I understand that the business that was in the building in front of where I live is no longer in operation, but during the time that they were, they did not respect they were basically working at any hour of the night, any hour of the day. So I do hope that the 7 to 6 p.m. hours are respected. I do understand that it's going to be used for shipping and storing, so I hope that the hours are respected, that the parking lot, no semis park there, that there's no storage containers there in the parking lot, and that the trash is not visible to the street of houses on Maurice. I am also very concerned with how much business is going to be done there, that traffic will increase. The street in Maurice is not wide enough to for 2 cars to pass there at the same time. So normally if that ever happens, right now there's not traffic or a lot of flow of cars, but if that does happen, 1 car has to park to the side of the road so that 1 car can pass. So I think that's going to be a huge concern with more movement, that there's just not enough space for 2 cars on that road. So our biggest concerns are the trash, the storage unit, and the street not being big enough for 2 cars to pass. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I think they said that their hours would be 7 to 6, Monday through Friday. With potential Saturday. And then Saturday, hours not known, but probably noon on Saturday, I would assume, something like that. Applicant may be able to address that, I don't know.
If I can add just a little bit, those storage containers are against the zoning code as it is. And we as staff should have been more proactive in having those removed. I do believe that applicant was working through getting out of that building. And so there was a little bit of a delay in getting those removed, as well as with the open storage. This conditional use permit moving forward will have to adhere not only to the zoning ordinance, but any of the conditions that are placed upon it. The hours of operation, I want to clarify, it's a warehouse office. It is not for manufacturing. It's not for repair, automotive repair, anything of that nature. If that does take place, then there would definitely be some significant conversations had between us and the conditional use permit applicant. It is, think of your plumbers and, correct me if I'm wrong, but plumbers, your contractors that utilize that office maybe have like their trucks parked there, but no actual work on site, as it pertains to manufacturing or automotive repair. So I just wanted to clarify that. Yes, sir.
The residents were not sent, the renderings that we have, they were not sent those.
No, sir. They're just sent the letter.
Notification.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
We have, architectural renderings of what the applicant is proposing to do with the building, the changes he's gonna make, and I'm gonna lay them up here. And before you guys leave, you can come up here and look and see. This will give you some idea of what kind of investment they're planning on making in this building. And again, I think a lot of the things you folks have been dealing with are gonna be going away. You know, however, we were dealing with a commercial piece of property with a pre-existing commercial building on it, so it's really impossible for us to say, no, we don't, you know, we can't put anything there and make it go away. But I think that a lot of what you've been dealing with, you're gonna see it go away. I really do. So I would encourage you to come look at these before you leave the chambers today.
May I also add, just to reiterate, we kind of touched on, I touched on that there are some engineering requirements that are required, that TIA, that traffic impact analysis, will really provide not only staff, but the applicant an understanding of if traffic mitigation is required, or what that looks like, depending on their total trips or their total daily trips. But there's also looking at Maurice and Seymour and what improvements are needed there. And that's codified by ordinance and also the Public Works design manual. So those are some items that they'll have to work through with engineering on. But those are requirements that the city already has in place.
I would just add from the project narrative that the applicant put in there, hopefully this makes you feel a little better, but this is what their commitment is that the proposed use is low intensity in nature and generates minimal noise, odor, or other nuisance impacts. The applicant is committed to maintaining the property as a well-kept, attractive asset that reflects positively on the surrounding neighborhood and the Gateway Corridor. Not every applicant puts that in their request.
I'd just like to add, in regard to the traffic, I'm aging myself a little bit, but that site used to be a Gibson Discount Center, which was that was pre-Walmart era, and that was the largest retail store in Denison, and there were hundreds of cars there every day, and the traffic was not an issue. And then Trailblazer, I think they employed hundreds of people at that site, and that's before work from home was a thing. People actually showed up at the office every day, and so I'm pretty optimistic that part of it is going to probably work out. And to add to Diane's comments, you know, just the main thing is we want to make sure that appropriate uses, this is commercial, mixed commercial, and it's not light industrial to where they're supposed to be manufacturing things at that site. It's commercial, so that'd be my comment. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Anyone else here to speak? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion.
I recommend approval of the proposed conditional use permit for the warehouse office for the subject property with the following conditions. A landscape plan meeting the standard found within section 2851 be submitted to planning staff for review and approval at the time of building permits, and also that the applicant submits a final application to planning staff to be reviewed and approved.
I'll second.
I have a motion with a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. I think that's, we have staff updates? No staff updates? I guess that finishes our business today. All right, seeing no other business before the commission, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I so move that we adjourn.
Have a motion with a second, Mr. Pickens. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned at 10:30 a.m. Thank y'all for being here with us.